I am Alaina Nash, and we're at my home base in Granby, Colorado, in the Innsbruck neighborhood. I want to share a little bit about how affordable housing has affected me, just personally with my family life, as well as mental well-being, and just kind of give it a perspective as a business owner in Grand County and the cascading effects of not having enough affordable housing and the impact that it has. And so I own a short-term rental housekeeping company, and it's interesting because we have a plethora of short-term rentals, but in order to staff businesses, they also have to have a home to live. So the hand that feeds us is also, in essence, the hand that's taking away from us from a housing perspective. And I think the most important thing to talk about is that just recently, just this week, I shut down my business on Wednesdays and Thursdays, which is it was a huge move to make. We were 7 days a week because we need to be. Guests come and go 7 days a week. They are not, particular to certain days. And we chose Wednesday and Thursday just because there were lighter bookings. And really what drove us to that was mental health. When you're working 7 days a week and you're stressing about having to be moved out of your place in October for the next bout of, say, seasonal renters that are coming into your home, which is what a lot of my staff is facing, and you're compounding working at restaurants as well as working for my company, as well as wondering where you're going to live for the winter term, and you love this community because of all the other reasons people travel here, it starts to weigh on your mental stability, and mine included. So I worked 37 days straight without a day off. I was fortunate, obviously, I own my home, which is very rare to those that live in our community. As we know, there's 20, maybe 25% of the homes are actually permanent residents, and the rest go to short-term rentals and vacation renters. But the impact that it has is that it's unstable. Just imagine having instability and not knowing where you're going to live next, and then also, is your rate for rent going to double, which has happened to many of my workers, and that just having that uncertainty, it impacts you and it drives you out of our community. And it is one thing that really keeps me up at night, and it's because my team is tired trying to make rent, trying to save for a house, and trying to figure out where they're going to be permanently rooted. And this community, it feels like, doesn't want anyone to root here because we're not providing resources to allow those that serve us to stay. And so it is a massive problem. I didn't realize I was going to start a housekeeping company and then find my passion in being with housing and ensuring that it's equal across the board. So I've had to say goodbye to many housekeepers because they couldn't afford a place to live, or they were coming up from Denver and waiting for a place and it never came to fruition, and so they had to return to the Front Range. There was a point where we had 3 housekeepers sleeping on our couches all at the same time, or a family of 4. We've just been packed on top of each other for COVID, and then you layer on 3 brand new roommates that are only eating, drinking, sleeping, and talking just plain housekeeping, and all of these things all day long. It's going to tear the threads of your family apart because we're trying to embrace people that don't have homes, but at the same time we have a family life that needs to have attention, and my business was just being consumed or was consuming our entire family, and then having to shelter others because we just don't have an affordable housing plan puts a lot of strain on not only those that are couch surfing, but also the families that are hosting and bringing people in. So there was a day that my son came out and he was like, "Who's sleeping on the couch tonight?" And I'm like, "Oh," and so I name him off, and he's like, "Psh." 16-year-old jets back to his room, slams his door, and that was it. It's like, it's weighing on so many different factors, and it seems like a simple problem to solve, but it's not quite solved yet. So that's kind of the impact that it's taken on us. And then also just stability in working. People are forced to move out of the community, and so then we have a smaller workforce, and then in order to get temporary staffing, it's very costly because now me and the company that I own has to go out and rent Airbnbs and VRBOs at an extremely high rate just to get temporary workers to come in, and that's not sustainable either because we're having to pay very high wages so that people can stay in the homes that they have and afford the inflation that we've seen in Grand County as a result of the booming economy and the housing market that's really over the top right now. All right, so I think the next best place to dive into is to talk about all of the different roles within the community and how they can, take part in this housing or affordable housing or building affordable housing problem, and just let's solve it, right?